On our last trip to Orlando, we ended up picking the world's worst airline to fly home, and because they were a terrible airline, which I will tell you all about in 1 second, they canceled our flight home and we ended up having to spend an extra day in Florida. So let me tell you all about what happened when we made the terrible choice to fly with Frontier Airlines, and while I'm telling you about it, you can take a look at all the fun stuff we did on our extra day in Florida. So we booked very last minute to go to Orlando. We only decided we were going to go on this trip to Florida about 5 days before we actually needed to fly out. And one of the only airlines that could accommodate us and that wasn't incredibly expensive was Frontier Airlines. And before you tell me in the comments that everybody knows how terrible they are, I also had heard terrible things about Frontier, but I had never personally flown them, so I decided to give them a chance, which was obviously a mistake. So our flight from LAX to Orlando was actually fine. The only thing that was kind of annoying was that even though we had a layover and we were using the exact same plane, Frontier made us get off the plane and get back on the same plane, which I thought was kind of dumb, but was willing to accept as one of those weird things. However, when it was time to fly home from Orlando to LAX is when the real problems occurred. We arrived early to the airport and our flight was supposed to leave at 4:30. But at about 3 o'clock, we got a message saying that our flight was being delayed and that they were going to put us on a different flight that wasn't going to leave until 7:30 at night. And not only was our new flight not going to leave for an additional 3 hours after our original flight, but our new flight also was going to have an added 8-hour layover that we did not have before. And because Frontier is the absolute worst airline that you can work with, they don't have anybody in the airport that you can talk to except for the people who check your bags in the very front of the airport. So in order to talk to these people, we had to exit security after we had already successfully gone through TSA. And once we finally did find someone to talk to, all we were asking is if they could find us a flight home that wasn't going to take 15 hours when our original trip was supposed to be 7 hours. We also asked if they would just give us a hotel voucher so that we would have somewhere to sleep since they were adding an 8-hour layover to our trip. Frontier said no, and it's not their fault and it's not their problem, and they would not offer any compensation or any hotel vouchers, and our only options were to either take the 15-hour-long trip or cancel our flight completely and return in 24 hours the next day and try to fly home then. We picked option 2 and had to extend our trip by a full day, and that's how we ended up with this extra day at Universal Orlando. Long story short, we had a great time at Universal, but also don't fly Frontier Airlines.